these civilizations really do understand this to the point that they have not only the innate understanding, which all of us can develop, but also that they have technological assist. And I call this technology-assisted consciousness. And there are other systems that are consciousness that assist their technologies. So these extraterrestrial civilizations, the beings, the life forms, are actually consciously wired into their spacecraft and their communication systems. And that, the people I know who've worked on spacecraft that have been shot down tragically by our misguided classified projects have recounted that the beings are actually touching and are bioelectrically and consciously wired into it, and that the spacecraft itself is like a living organism. It's a conscious nanobiomachine. Conscious nanobiomachine. At the level of nanomolecular technology, it's actually living. It's not like, something that you would get out of Detroit where everything's bolted together in a bucket of bolts. It's or something that Lockheed would make, which is also a bucket of bolts. Even though they're anti-gravity and pretty cool, I wouldn't mind having one of these man-made flying saucers. But the actual ET ones are conscious and living, and that they're at the point where the spacecraft themselves are so developed that they take on the awareness, it's sort of like artificial intelligence, of their occupier, of their pilot, and of the commander and of the people on board. And so this is why so many of the experiences we have are so bizarre, frankly, to most people. When they hear that, we're sitting out on Mount Shasta, and we have this event happen where a tone omnidirectional emerges from the space around us, sitting in the middle of the national forest, and everyone sitting in the circle sees in their mental imagery the shape of the spacecraft as it's zipping through the area transdimensionally. That happened, and it's happened more than once. So you're dealing with things that, an understanding and a study of what many people dismiss as metaphysical mysticism is really not irrelevant at all to this understanding of transdimensional interstellar civilizations. In fact, it's the central understanding. And that's why I said we have to move beyond this thing of, kicking the tires of the UFO, which is where everything's remained for the last 50 years, to understanding the reality of a civilization that can go faster than the speed of light and then materialize or manifest in some way right in our atmosphere, like we recently had happen. Well, at Rio Rico last year, those of you who have the new book, Contact, Countdown to Transformation, the DVD has a picture that a member of our team took of this almost a tetrahedral-shaped craft materializing right over this group of 200 people at this hotel rooftop where we're going to be gathering in October. We're going to be there again in October from the 2nd to the 4th. And I think that what people have to understand is that this can take place very, very quickly and in a way that the naked eye may or may not see it, but now these digital cameras are beginning to pick up on it. And, of course, same thing with the electronics that happen. We have these transdimensional electronics where there's actually conversation happening through the tonality of these laser detectors and radar detectors that we have out in the middle of the national park or out in the middle of nowhere, which is quite bizarre to people. I mean, it takes a long time for people to get their minds around what in the world is going on here. But all of these manifestations make sense once you understand non-locality of space, time, consciousness, and thought, and the fact that these ET civilizations have mastered it in order to travel faster than the speed of light from other galaxies and other star systems to Earth. And they want us to understand it so that we can interact with them in a number of different ways, both consciously and physically, like we do, but also in dream time. For example, I think one of the most profound ways that people have actual contact with these civilizations is in the lucid dream state. And the reason for that is that when people are in the waking state, they're so fixed on linear space-time and ego and their bodies that most of what exists in the cosmos is out of sight and out of mind. Whereas when they're asleep, their consciousness becomes more relaxed, and then their astral body, the body of light that you can fly around the universe with, actually is in a state of greater freedom. It's like the bird being let out of the cage, and it can fly around. And in that state, the ETs find it often easier to deal with humans because they're in a more relaxed and open-minded state. And I have had many experiences with ET civilizations and beings in that lucid astral state of mind in dream time, as the Aboriginals of Australia call it. And this is something you can also develop. One of the things that we teach at these CSETI training sessions is the mindfulness of going into sleep in a meditative state and then intending to be awake in your dream and to be aware and to invite these extraterrestrial civilizations and people to interface with you. And we've had people who've had astonishing events. Just recently, when we were in Crestone, Colorado, with ETs doing this, in fact, where there would be a whole group of people the same night having these sort of events happening at a hotel where they were staying in Crestone, which was very unusual, as well as a lot of strange electromagnetic events happening at the same time inside the rooms of people and around the hotel. So all of this is all quite a bit to learn. Of course, I mean, we'll find that it's kind of hard to do that in a 7-day period, or a week period. But one of the good things is that before people come, we give them a whole training set, so it has the meditation techniques and the concepts and the ideas. But it's really quite a mind-expanding thing to experience. And most people find that once they begin to understand a few basic principles and give themselves to it and say, look, I can do this, just all kinds of beautiful things occur very quickly.
It never fails to amaze me the variety of ways in which the ETs communicate with us out in the field. I mean, we call these trainings, and they're trainings for the new people, but they're trainings for those of us that have been going for years and years and years as well, because it's always different. And the ETs are clearly training us. They're participating in the training, and they're doing things on purpose to show us new means of communication and to train us. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that anyone who is open to it finds that the ETs are going to contact them in one way or another. Something happens that confirms it. And the reason for that, I mean, let's back this up a little bit. Hillary Clinton isn't heading an interplanetary diplomatic effort. Neither is the head of the United Nations, and nor is, to my knowledge, any other world government or national government. And so in the absence of that, think about it. We're now, 60, 70 years into the nuclear era, the space era, and the era when there has been this huge increase of UFO sightings all over the world. And who's responding? Who? Well, you have the classified projects that operate outside the control of the president and the Congress that are shooting at them and have been trying to study their technologies. But there's no organized effort to make peaceful, open contact. That's what we're doing. And to be honest with you, the reason we keep having all these amazing things happen, I believe, is that I don't know that we're so great, but we're kind of, at least we're trying. And, the point is that this effort is greatly appreciated by these civilizations because they want humans to go from the current state of, an awareness of only Earth and destroying this planet to what's out there, not only consciously within ourselves, but what's out in space and what that might mean for how we can live on this planet. And it has very, very practical implications. A lot of people hear about this and say, well, this is all very interesting. What does that have to do with the fact that we have global warming and BP gushing 100,000 gallons of oil every day into the Gulf of Mexico, killing the entire ecosystem. And I'll say it has everything to do with it, because these technologies and the sciences that deal with this entire subject would have replaced oil before I was born. I mean, I doubt there's anyone listening to this interview who was born before the time that classified projects had sciences and technologies that would have replaced this. Because I remind people that T. Townsend Brown and Nikola Tesla and many of these other geniuses of the early and mid-20th century understood and had things operational based on these sciences that were high-voltage, phased electromagnetic systems. And, of course, I have worked personally and met with people who have been in highly classified, way above top-secret programs who've built these systems. And here we sit still burning oil and gas and coal and, basically despoiling our nest unnecessarily. So this whole issue has enormous implications because, and by the way, one of the chief reasons why all of this is such a topic non grata in official power circles is that you cannot acknowledge the existence of these civilizations and of these UFOs without acknowledging the fact that they're moving around our atmosphere at multiples of the speed of light, and even when they're fully materialized at enormous speeds, without any sound, without any fuel being expended. Where are they getting the energy? How are these things going? Well, they're pulling energy from the fabric of space-time itself and from this so-called quantum vacuum and zero-point energy field that's omnipresent throughout the cosmos. And once that's understood, then people say, well, heck, if that's what they're doing and we understand it in a classical way, why the heck am I still paying $3-4 a gallon for gas? Why am I still contributing to global warming? Why are we still buying Exxon and BP oil? Why am I paying a utility bill that's hooked up to a coal-fired power plant that's blowing up the Appalachian Mountains with mountaintop removal mining to get it? This is not a trivial issue. But, of course, tied to that at the same time is the fact that people would prefer folks not to know this because they want people to be ignorant and they want people to be dependent. And I say that it's time for a whole new period of liberty and freedom on this planet that acknowledges universal peace, and that these sciences, both in consciousness and in these technologies, are brought forward and unveiled to benefit humanity and the planet. And we can have a planet and a world and a future on Earth that is just beyond our wildest dreams. I mean, the potential of what's here right now, if we come together, make open contact, create a peaceful civilization, but also work to bring these sciences and technologies out, that world would be more different than the world we have today than today is from 10,000 years ago. And it can happen in a generation. The elimination of poverty, the elimination of all pollution, of want, of this sort of enormous injustice in the world where we have 40% of the planet that does not even have plumbing and toilets. That's a true statistic. That this can change very, very rapidly, and that we people on Earth today have to come together and say we're going to work on this, and that's what Linda and Dr. Bravo and Dr. Loader and myself and all the other people who worked for so many years on this are doing, and we welcome you to participate and to look into this. And you can find out more about what we're doing at disclosureproject.org and also at CSETI.org.